everybody, it's Shelly Olds here in the studio. Today I'm going to show you how to trim the bottom of a pot on a wheel. My students ask me all the time how to do it, and so I bring them back here and I work with them one-on-one, and there's several students that I work with, but I thought it would be easier to just create a video and then I can refer them to the video so that they can get those techniques down correctly. So if you're ready, let's get started. So since I just finished a video on how to throw a plate on a wheel yesterday, this plate is the later stage of leather hard. It's ready to be trimmed. So I figured I might as well just show you how to do it on the bottom of this plate. You do it the same way. It doesn't matter if it's a bowl or a plate. So basically it's the same way. First thing you need to do is put it upside down on the wheel. You do not need a back for this. I took this damp sponge and rubbed the top rim of this plate before I flipped it over and pressed it down on the wheel, okay? Use these lines as your guideline to center it. Once it's centered, then you need to tack it down with some snakes of clay so that it stays put. So now I'm starting with the large trimming tool, and I'm just gonna get my wheel going. It does not have to be really fast, guys. But the first thing I want to do is find out if the bottom of this plate is flat, and it bumps up just slightly a little bit. So I'm just going to hold it here until I get the bottom of it nice and flat. So when you're trimming, here's what happens sometimes. You press down with this tool a little bit too hard, and it catches in the clay and it rips your pot, throws it completely off the wheel, or just makes a huge gouge in it. That's something you don't want to do. When you're trimming, you want to trim, you're shaving off. You're not cutting, you're shaving off. So try to think of that way. Not much pressure. So now that the bottom of this pot is nice and flat, the next thing I want to do is just double check it, and then I want to start carving the edges down, okay, until those are smooth. So when you're carving the edges, here's a mistake that I see my students make all the time, okay? They're carving, but they don't have their arm rested on their leg, and they're just carving and their arm is moving around, okay? I cannot imagine how it's going to look nice if you continue carving like that. Please rest your arm on your leg. It'll be so much better. So I've got the wheel going at a, I don't know, not real fast, not real slow, right? And I'm resting my arm on my leg, and then just use your other hand to guide it. You're just going to hold it on the edge right here until it is nice and smooth and it doesn't bump out anymore, okay? So everything is nice, smooth, and slow when trimming on the wheel. So now what I want to do is create a footing, because right now it's flat and I might want to create a footing, but the first thing I need to do before I create a footing is check it. I want you to tap it like this and see if it feels, you can tell by tapping it. If it feels and sounds like a drum, it's probably pretty thick. And I intentionally threw this thick. I intentionally throw everything thick so that I can trim. So that's what I'm going to do next. So what I'm doing here is using this part of my trimming tool, and I'm making a little irrigation ditch, shall we say. I'm just slowly carving in right there. Okay. Now, did you notice how it pulled right there? It kind of did a little funky pull on me. And that is because I pressed down a little bit too hard, so I have to fix that. Okay, see how it pulled right there? I'm just fixing. Now listen, guys, trimming is kind of technical. You have to be very gentle. You have to go at a slow pace. You can't rush it. I know that potters who trim all the time, they're probably thinking, oh, it's simple, it's easy. but that's because they do it all the time. But to a high school student who has just learned how to throw on a wheel 2 months ago, and you're trying to trim and you're trying to learn all these techniques, it is hard. So you really need to focus when you're doing this. So now that I have this little irrigation canal carved down far enough, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this out. I'm going to take it out all the way down to this depth right here. I just used the bigger curve to carve all this down, but now what I can do is take the whole width of that, and I can just kind of carve down like this. Just make sure that you're always resting your arm on your leg and you're using your other hand as a guide. And I'm just going to slowly continue to carve more and more until I get down to here, all the way to the middle. What I'm doing is working on making this bottom part coned just a little bit, not really coned, but kind of like a little hill. So it's a little bit higher here, and then it kind of comes down and goes a little bit lower right here. So you've got this little curvature going on the bottom. It just makes the bottom of the pot more interesting and looks better. That's just my personal preference. Now I'm just going to take this excess clay off and around the edges, and then pick it up, clean it up a little bit, and you can see where I signed it. And I always put a little XOXO stamp, which means made with love. So really the only other thing that you could work on would be taking a wet sponge and just kind of wiping some of the areas down. You know, if you accidentally gouged it with your fingernail, which happens, you can just kind of wipe it down and make it nice and smooth, fix it up, and just let it dry so that you can get it in the bisque. Here is my trimmed plate. Here's the bottom and here's the top. This is actually a texture technique that I demonstrated on another video. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to effectively trim. I hope you try it a couple times and see how you do, and try different variations. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you think, and I will see you next time.